For those of you out there that think that the Golden State Warriors are going to win a championship this year, I think that's a little bit too much. I think the Warriors are probably better than a lot of people gave them credit for, including myself, once they traded for Jimmy Butler. You have Steph Curry, you got Jimmy, you got Dre. The team, obviously, with Jimmy is much better defensively. That gives you a very good defender on the perimeter, kind of in and around the paint. He's a fantastic player. When I was questioning the fit, is really about Jimmy. I don't have any concerns about Draymond Green. I don't have any concerns about Steph. I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of the way that things happen with Jimmy. Whenever he goes somewhere, we see the same things going over and over again, right? How things sour at all the teams and all the stops he's made. But so far, things are looking pretty good. Check out some of these wins. They beat the Mavericks by 20 plus. They beat the Kings by, 26 points or something, right? So they got two huge wins, blowout fashion. They beat the Rockets, right? So they've won 3 in a row, and then prior to that, they beat the Bucks, although they did have a loss to the Mavericks somewhere in there. But then they also beat the Bulls, right? So when you look at the last couple of weeks with Jimmy Butler, there's wins in there. And then up and coming on their schedule, you got the Hornets. That's a game you could definitely win. You got a game against the Magic. You got a game against the Sixers, the Hornets again. And then you have the Knicks and the Nets. There's all types of opportunities for wins the rest of the way. You can win 7, 8, 9 games in your next 10 games. That's very possible, right? Especially if they're playing well. And look, I've never been a big Steve Kerr fan. I'm a Cleveland fan, so obviously I've never liked the Warriors. It's always been Cavs and Warriors and that whole thing with LeBron and Steph and all that. So I have no affinity for the Warriors, but I think I got to call a spade a spade. The team's playing pretty good. Jimmy seems just fine. It seems to be a fit. And I think he understands that it behooves him if he wants to, obviously everybody wants to get a nice contract and, players want to fit and win and all those things. And you got all these good vibes and positive energy when you first get to a place. You got traded from the Heat. Things got pretty nasty over there. But I think so far so good. The experiment's kind of working, but I don't think they're built for a championship as currently constructed. I'm not sure what their playoff run looks like. Depending on who their opponents are, I think they can win some series, but it just depends who they're playing. Are they good enough to beat the Nuggets? Do you guys think so? Are they good enough to beat the Lakers? What's your opinions and thoughts on that? I don't think they could beat the Thunder. I don't think they can. Maybe the Rockets. I don't know. How good do the Warriors get between now and the end of the season is the most important piece to this. It's the same thing I was talking about with the LA Lakers. You have to develop an identity. Who are you going to be offensively? How are you going to get your points? And then the second piece of that is obviously with Jimmy, you've upgraded your defense. You now have Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler anchoring your defense. That makes the defensive responsibilities a little bit easier for all the other guys because those are going to be your two anchors, right? Your front court best player is going to be defended by Draymond Green. And then probably your best wing is going to be defended by Jimmy. That allows Steph to kind of be on some ancillary piece and some of the other guys on the team to not have to worry about the other team's best player, right? As long as you got Jimmy Butler there kind of holding it down. So we'll wait and see, but I think so far so good. The experiment's working out nicely. I'm not going to jump to conclusions and say this is a world-beating championship team. That's not the case. It's way too early to call that. Nor do I even think that's realistic to expect that. Jimmy said, championships coming or whatever. Maybe at some point, maybe it's a conversation having next year after some roster reconstruction and some pieces that are added. But as constructed, I don't think so. Right? So what are your thoughts on the Warriors? What do you guys think about them? What's their ceiling for the season? Right? Where do they finish within the Western Conference? And then what type of teams are they capable of beating once they get into the playoffs? Right. And of course, we still have a couple of months to play out. They could get better between now and May. Right. Or I should say mid-April. Right. And going into May. Who knows? Maybe they could sour. Right. Things might not work out. Maybe, anything could happen. Injuries are always a factor. So we'll see. But what do you guys think is their ceiling? Who are the Golden State Warriors? Let me know. Drop me a line in the comments. Like, share, subscribe.